Welcome to Stargate line settings and 7 location settings and direct signal locations. You'll have to learn how to use it through adaptation surface. It's okay to modify how we see our set locations on high setting. It's all lines of communications. Now we're in line communications into all levels. Boundaries of space is now in line triangle lines and box line and rotation position location, positive or negative, negative or positive, positive or negative. Sending correlation lines at 333, heart line is soul. Direction of time sequence put position locations into 7 plasma channels. 7 pi redirect signals and set locations of coloration path. This puts position of stargates line settings into 1-1 position locations high setting. Track communication in and position locations opens all line and rotations. We take increments and location of settings. We operate the systems. We put a position of track line in high operation setting. This puts all position locations to interference. And the program location to its online setting is we understand how to use it through sequence patterns. This positions your track lines of communication setting. This opens all signals and set locations. All right. 5 to 10 minutes, we'll get started. So today is Friday. There's not going to be any class line, obviously, in SARI location system. So really just find a way to get in your provision location or visionary lines into thought position line settings. Stay in line communications of the now, center your communication settings and direct signals. Put position locations into correlations of panels, operation surface location of your system. So it's all about levels of channel. The channel stream interference is set location of settings. Tipsy, Ocean. So 2 panel line operation stream location, line setting, direct signals, right? 2 graphical line settings and position location cross and stream. Directing signals on 6 and line center. Rotation line, cross line, and position locations in position. Center correlation lines, travel line setting, and direct signals, and position location high setting, and direct system. Now, the center calculation lines has to understand the circle line rotations. It's indirect signal into ground operation. The circle line position locations had high settings, and we have 6 in line channel, 6 in positions, 6 in activation, and 6 in course, and 6 in line setting in directions. Now, directing signals and position location is 2 panels of 2 line settings of 6, center lines of 2 lines of 6, and lines of 6 line in center position location of center position. Now, this operates a set line calculation setting into a rainbow stream, in panel line stream, in a stargate line position, in a level signal line position that travels, and line calculation of vortex stream location and visionary settings and direction. Now, directing line setting is really understand how to set up the circle line center rotation of surface correlations of panels, high calculation line directions. So what you're doing is you're highlighting your platitude lines, visionary cortex lines of your thoughts in position location of knowing and doing in set location setting and direct signal at set locations. Now in that set location, we change the line graph screens. Now that line graph screen goes on 1 line set line high interference and 0 line rotation surface, setting the line set location high setting and directions. Now, in that direct line center, we set up position locations into center lines of 1 galaxy shift line. Now, that shift line sets lines of plasma line channel. Operation surface around the line interference, protecting its lines of stargate line interference and 11 set locations and directions. Now, this directs signals and set locations, right? So we take the 6 lines of panel, 6 lines of operation of center communications, right? That redirects lines of affinity 8 line rotation. Now, directing signals is understanding how to use the communications lines of space and position location, high interference of time, and set location of high position. The operation line center sets lines of graph line and solar stream lines of center communication and directions. Now, directing signals is line setting, okay? So we cross the signal line stream. Positions of 2 panels in set location of box centers in set location of triangulation line set in center position of operation surface in set locations. All right, done by equation. So in that position of track line, it's all levels in how you see yourself through your visionary line rotation. Okay, this opens all positions of you. Your center communication line interference is all track communications. All right. Okay, so that's going to be line signaling and set high traffic communications. All right, it's there, still there. Everything's still there, even though you can't see it. It's still there. So it's at a frequency line setting. So we use the wave line central into set lines, alpha, delta, theta line rotation surface and correlation setting and directions. All right. Now, directing line signature line stream is 0 line, positions of 5. Now, 5 sets lines of 5, 5, and 5, 5 line rotation interference. 0 lines is correlation. 5 lines, electrical line setting, electrical line and rotation position, high set location and directions. Now, this directs the signals. Now, how you set up stargates is understanding a voice line rotation. Okay, it goes around its correlation setting in direct signal. Okay, the sun comes in, and sun positions its track communication, so its location. Track communications comes into this line signature lines of 11 and position locations into two line sets. Security perimeters or parameters in set location line setting to a start date line setting rotation. In that direct signal, it puts positions to acceleration. Now this marks its center and center communications. It opens all signals and set location of center and direct signal and set location. All right. Now, directing line settings is all about understanding the triangulation sets, row graph interference, and center communication to its line center and line rotation to its sun of operation. Okay? Directing signals of panels is a rotation spin. Spins lines and high line interference of center calculation setting or crop circle locations of the directions. Now, directing signals is all levels of travel. Now, we change the coloration line setting. Okay? In position locations. Now we come into all calculation setting and directions, psychological line setting interference. Meta universe line rotation is spin cycles and set location of directions. Okay, direct signals. Now directing signals, line position locations into 12 signature patterns and set location of 24 ground line rotation. All right, done by equation. Okay, so as it's set up, it disappears and still there to track communications. Change the coloration path again and line interference. Black and signature line rotations to its center position of operation. Now this surface is core line center that travels. That's puts position locations to your system. Okay. Okay. So getting into track communication line setting is all about understanding how to surface the one signature line stream. Okay. And position the location of three lines of positions. All right. So we set lines at equal line position of box and equal line conditions of box and position of triangle in the center, triangulating the positions and north lines at east line and south line. We put up triangle line centers and high travel communication setting, crosses stream, and set locations. Part direction and time sequence. Now in that line interference, we change the correlation panel. Now the panel sets lines communications, comes into one line setting, right? One equals lines of one and set locations into one interference. Okay, so we travel down and three central line communications, high centered traction. The track line center sets lines position location to a system that opens all position of travel lines and center calculations in crop circle. Crop circle aligns its position locations into two lines of operation. Operation line signature line stream sets lines of communication of circle line positions. Now the circle line communication comes into this setting and operation of surface. Line position locations, operation of setting and directions. Now directing signals, travels lines and high interference of travel communications. All right. All levels of correlation, right? Travels signals and high interference, all levels of correlation. Okay. So as it travels line center interference, position locations, we colorate the line centers of triangulation, we colorate the box, colorate the triangle, colorate the triangle, colorate the box. Okay. So it's in sequence patterns of masculine and feminine interference. So it's triangulation lines set position locations into one line centers of one positions, which is 1, 1, 1, 1. Panel operation 11 signature patterns and correlation setting redirect signals into face recognition line setting into alpha, delta, and theta communications and track communications. Done by equation. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing so far on a Friday? It's amazing how we come into the setting, but it's very important to understand how to use the triangulations of box, triangulations, and triangulations of box. Because the central calculations of boundaries of space really has to recognize the stargate line setting. Okay, also allocation of systems. All right. Travels lines of two lines of high interference. Okay, looks like a container, right? Now rotation line setting interference comes into a Hubble of communication line directions of set locations. Okay. So it looks like connections to a snow globe. All right. The central communication line center is the inner line setting that opens all track communications and positions. All right. So you have the inner line setting, you have the outer line positions, you have the inner line orbits, and you got the outer line orbits. Space line inside and space line outside. So it's all track communication setting and how you see yourself in position location to a set interference. Okay. So holographic location. All right, so in that position, that's going to mechanism line setting and travel through its set location setting directions. Okay. All right, so hopefully you guys are catching on to set lines of communication, how it surfaces in line stream. Directing signals, we go from one signature line, setting line interference into stargate line positions. Okay, 3 line settings, 4, 5, 6, 7, and set location line directions. All right. So this puts you in 81 line center line interference of travel. Okay, so 8 signature lines into 1 line position. Okay, center calculation triangulations into 1 line graph line rotation. See the intelligence? Sending direct signals is all position of track communications. So you change your triangulation line sets inline interference. This opens up all course lines of the moon and its operation surface and its location of travels and direction. Now, directing signals lines of 8 lines of 1 is a new ground setting. Like this opens high interference location of grounds of operation. Perimeters on sectors of factors of pi. It redirects signals in set location to the system that opens all track communications in a graph line stream and set location lines and portal communications of 11 signals in set locations. Done by question. Right. Okay, so everything's being set up in operation surface. Where you stand the set lines of communication to its directions, right? Okay, so in that signal, in high center interference, we take this out of the equation. It's still there. Okay, so get into line settings. We come into panels. We got 2 panels, lines of 0 lines, operation surface, and position locations. And set lines of calculation, right? So let's understand how to set up 0 lines in travel. I got 1 lines of indication, 1 lines equal line calculation setting, triangulation into box, and set location of travel sets. Now this redirects locations of box line, vortex streamlines, and position location of past. Position location triangulations in present and position of box and set locations. Jump scar line screens, high center interference, and position location in future and set line division. Okay. Now, getting in a course line setting is all about understanding how to triangulate in line stream, a setting correlation system of triangulation lines. That one positions of one perimeter. Now, center calculations comes into a flux capacitor. See? Flux capacitor channels its line, but it sets lines of communication offline rotation. Okay? Now, in that direct signals, you have to really understand how to coordinate the set lines in position of traction. But the center lines of 0 sets correlations of 1, 1, and set location of travel. Right? 3 central lines of 1. Travel position, travel activation, and travel center. Okay? Now this opens up line communication of panels. So we come into umbrellas of 3 sets, 1, 2, and 3 line rotation. Directing signals, the sun comes in the opposite direct location setting in high center interference of travel communications. This directs signals. Now this opens up a portal to position locations to your moon. Your moon operates as center lines in set location of travels. Now this directs signals in set location system. So we come into line settings, formation lines of future line of 6 travels line through position operation, directing line signature line streams in set location high setting and high center interference into its positions of future reaction. See the intelligent locations, base recognition setting. All right, so in that line rotations, we colorate the lines of box, triangulations, and we triangulate position of box and high interference. It's 3 set location of centers. That operates a center, operate line, center line position of all levels, balance a correlation center as center communication with settings and direction. Now in that direct signal, you have to really understand how to use it through all correlation. Okay. So getting in that signal, you have to understand how it sets up line settings. Okay. Rotation, spin cycles, sets lines of 4 line rotation surface. Past, present, and future is now an allocated line setting. Now it's a switch lines and set locations in position of 4 central lines that graph streams in set locations. Okay. It's amazing how you set these things up through location, right? Okay, so the center line calculation setting directs signals. We come into 1 position locations into a magnetic line change that changes its direct signals and set location of travels. Now we use a magnetic graph. A magnetic graph lines its electrical line stream in triangulations of 3 set line conditions to its Merkaba. Okay, see the diamond core line stream and set location, high setting, and direction? It's all set up, right? Okay, so setting up line settings, we change the coloration line setting and rotation to center position. This operates at signal locations at high interference of 1 line set location of solar systems. This redirects the signals and set location of travels. Coloration path, high calculation line setting in crop circle locations of center position location high system. See that the lines of swivel in line rotation. It's all done through equation, all right? It's amazing how we set these things up through coordination. All right, so that's done. And signal line interference, still traveling. Okay, so we're going to line cross screen lines, 6 lines of high center interference, right? Position location, question mark. Here's a question mark setting. Now the rotation line setting, we set up a line position location in 8 centers. We got 1 line rotations and 0 operation of set locations. So we take the 8 channel cross line stream and triangulation box into lines of 3 weather line rotations into a Fibonacci line swirl and set location high setting directions. Directing signals and line interference. Now we got 3 patterns of correlation setting directions. 3 panels in position location and track communications, right? This redirects lines of the sun in rotation of a surface line to a black hole in set locations. This redirects signals and line interference, setting position locations, adding 2 line signature patterns, equal line calculation setting to 2 more wave line center line interference. That's 3 over 2. That's positions of line centers of 5 at calculation stream. This redirects line center line interference, panels of 1, panels of 2, panels of 3, panels of 4, panels of 5, and set location of travel. Directing signals, line and line interference to travel communication setting. Setting the line conditions of operation, center position location of 2 lines sets the line communication lines of a Stargate line center location of 11. 11 line is rotation surface, correlates to center line interference, colors of triangulation in a box, box line center of the triangle communication system, high calculation into flux capacitor communication line stream. State intelligence. Directing signals, line and line and rotation interference, triangulations over pi, position of square over pi, direction of time sequence. Position on track line, pi and direct line signals, high center line position on track communications. 16,000 line yards, set lines in 1 square, 1 unit, 1 pi, direction of time lines, time interference, and position location of 0 to 9, equal lines of 3 lines of window, and 12 sector line calculations in a 24 measure in set location setting, and 11 portals of communications. Done by equation. All right. So we're going to keep that through line signature, and we're going to go through panel operation stream. The direct signal locations comes in all position line settings. Now, all lines in high interference and set locations. MDL, how you doing? Trinity, how you got going? So it's all about understanding how to reposition program setting, okay? You really have to understand how this all sets location to your tone. It's correlated in positions of your panels, and this operates your timeline sequence to your reactor line position. The center line is communication to your Stargate line setting that opens all your chakra set locations to your flux capacitor location system. Okay, directing signals, 2 panels, lines, ground line operation surface into your dimensional sail. Sets line calculation setting as circle line rotation position of yin and yang. Process correlation setting and direct signals as locations. All right. So know exactly how these are set up in positional track lines. So we got bracket lines of channels, 3 set lines of calculation setting, and direct lines of 2 hangers and position location operation. Now the operation line centers of 0, equal lines of 8, a position center of 8 and center position of 8 set locations. Now in that direct signal, we set lines of 8 line position, 8 lines of space and time and set location on the left. And we center lines of 8 in position location of time. Set a correlation line setting, directing signals of 8 line centers, 8 equals 0, and line conditions 8 equals 0, and set location of 1, and line conditions of 1 set location of directions. Now, in the line center line, we take the 10 lines in position, 10 lines of time lines of 2, 10 lines of 10 lines of time lines of 2, sets position of 12 line setting into set location high center. 12 lines of high interference is a 24 measure in a correlation panel that operates the circle line center to magnetic line setting and rotation surface and set location of travel. Directing signals and set location setting and high calculations, all right? So we circle line and line interference, circulation line calculation setting, 10 lines of high interference, 10 lines of high interference, and position of 8 central line communication setting. Set positions of 8 lines of travel, 8 lines of positions, and 8 lines of rotation. Setting correlation lines of 8 position of space, 8 positions of time. Center correlation line of directions, 24 signals, 48 windows, 72 track communication of computers, and 144 in crystal grid line setting rotates the surface location to ground lines operation line setting in track communications. Done by equation. All right. So in that position, we're adding electrical line streams, setting lines of 1 in position of 2 in position of 3. Let's go through the correlation of coloration. 1 in position of 2 in position of 3. Okay. Now the signature line setting and the position of track line is recognizing the streams. The rotation surface is now in a vortex line setting. So we change the 8 line stream lines into vortex correlation. The panel's communication line stream sets a row graph line conditions. See the row graph line stream, the top line signature? Now, center line interference, we jump scar line center. We center its position location to open up panels of a Stargate line settings of 1111 in position of traction. Now, a tracking and communication line redirects signals into zero lines of operation, new crop circle of center communications. All right, done by equation. All right, so the circle line interference, the yin and yang process is now in signal. All right, so we're going to color in the line stream in lights, shades, and shadows in one signature line setting. This is a Stargate portal line position location of left lines of space, directing line signatures, putting position location in the lines of balance into its 6 and 9 of rotation surface and set locations of directions high setting. Okay, done by equation. Okay, so in position location, it's going to go through a vortex stream. The allocated line setting is now in position of operation. Now we'll go through the operation circles, equal line connection high setting. We'll come into the yin and yang process, calculation of 6 and 9 line center interference. So yin and yang process is correlation of 6. Opens up the moon, centers lines is communication in directions. Now that direct signal sets up a seed pod of a capsule line, stream line, activation stream, and position location of center of operation set locations. Now this comes line interference. Looks like a donut, right? But it's a spherical sphere in set lines of correlation. So we take the yin and yang, process center, and operation. Setting correlation. If you look really, really close, you can actually see the 9. See the 9? That's a 9 upside down. If you look really, really close, you can see the 6 and 9 in center communications. See the 6? See the 9? Now it's an operation service at ground lines. Center correlation setting, direct signals, and set location system. So the yin and yang is in the process line setting into affinity 8 cycle. 8 line centers of center, 8 lines of position of grounds on left, 8 line position locations on right, center communication direct signals in position of 1, 1, and track line calculation setting of 0, eagle line calculation of 0 of space, and position location of time and sequence location of patterns. Done by equation. All right. Now, getting into track communications, you take the 0 line operation circuit, the center communication of center positions. Now, equal line calculation setting direct signals in 2 panels of operation, 2 lines of signature. Okay, center correlation setting direct signals into 2 operation circles of 2 line setting, the 2 line center, 2 interference, a 2 travel communication setting, 2 lines division, 2 lines rotation, and 2 lines of surface and location in high directions. This directs the signals, line condition of space and timeline sequence, position travels, with positions of operation surface and set location high setting. Directs the signals, 1 line position, travel calculations in a high interference, into your test direct lines of a flux capacitor line position, a new 0 operation, 11 signals high interference, a vortex location of streams, directing signals and set locations. Done by equation. All right. So how's everybody doing through location center and directions? I center is pi and direct signal. Understand the connections Y and position of volume into viewers of 7 into 2 track locations. Right. Nothing's coincidence. Everything's divine timing. To understand the position, location is being understood through all calculations. How it's set up is all provision to your setting, to your voice line setting, rotations, into your placebo. Now, the cerebral line center line interference sets ground line center location of center. Okay, so mechanism high interference, gone but still there by traveling. Okay, so in that line communications changes line signature stream. Now, the correlation panel changes high division. High division lines, 1 signature lines in position of flux capacitor, flux capacitor, flux capacitor, and 3 set location of directions, right? Directing signals. So we got the 0 line in position of 1 and 0 line in position of 2 and set location of travel. So we set up the 2 line signature lines and 2 lines of position, right? Sets all position location 2 equals pi, and position location 2 equals pi in calculation setting in future adaptation. Future lines is center in position of 6 crosses streamlines. Allocate lines of center line rotations, 12 line signature line stream set location, and 0 lines of correlation directions and set locations. Okay, so setting communication is really understanding importance line communication of its orbs in spectrum communication of center position. Now, the operation surface and set location setting sets lines at 3 panels of 2, 2, 2 and set location of travel. Done by equation. Okay, so that's a signature line graph and set locations. Gone, but still there. So you really have to understand the correlation system, how it sets lines of high setting. Okay, travel calculations, 1 hanger line interference and 2 hanger position location operation. Directing signals, channel lines, sonar interference, 1, 2, 3. Position locations and line center left of south, and position location at east, in the west, in the south, and in the north. Coordinates line interference of 0, 0. Travel position locations indicate high setting and high calculations into acceleration. vector cross stream and set location into computer of operation. Now, directing lines of panels is a 3 waving line cycle. 1 position, 2 position, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 line signature line settings, directing signals. Cross and stream, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in 8 line directions. Directing signals lines, 0 line rotations. Ground lines operation, solar sails. Solar sails comes up in high line interference and travel communication setting in direct signals and set location line setting in direct signal of center communications. Directing signals in high interference, cross and stream lines, east line, west line, south line, north line, 2 lines of 0 line rotations, 2 lines in position of factor in position of verb high, and 3 sets of panels. Operation string, crisscross lines setting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and set location of travel. Redirecting signals, set up energy hubs and correlation line directions into intelligence set location setting in future adaptation. Okay, done by Chris. It's all set up. So setting communication line stream is really understand how to recognize the communication in your systems. This opens all position your interference, but you have to understand the phase direction of time sequence. It puts all center operation in line setting to all position location of panels. The panel communication stream line opens all correlation. Now directing signals through your phase direction of timelines sets lines of correlation setting in your phase direction line calculation in your cerebros in dimensional realms of set location in your stargates in 11 positions into your 7 plasma channels, the correlation settings of pi in high center interference of your DNA track communication in your 12 DNA line setting and rotation surface. Done by equation. Okay, it's all set up. So in that line rotation, it's going to, boom, disappear and set location travels. Redirecting line setting and travel communication high directions. Now, the Fibonacci swirl line sets lines of communication as center. This opens up position location of moon, a higher calculation streamline position. Okay, so we have to change the coloration to change the time sequence. Puts the lines of center of operation as surface. 1 strip down is set location of travel. Redirect signals. Okay, 2 line signature line streams and set locations into your diamond core. Remember, the diamond core is your frame line center of your placebo that sets line positions to your TV box in center line communications and directions. You have to find a way to reset your locations to your set location setting. Directing signals a channel in position of vortice line rotations, correlations of panels, correlations of panels, correlations of panels, and 3-line conditions of box line rotation. That's my equation, right? So there's Hall setting line rotation surface, okay? Gone, but still there. How are we all doing through set location of travel? I know there's a lot going on, right? To understand how to set up mechanism of high setting, okay? It's all position of track lines. Why do you think we're in 7 lines of 3, which is the Fibonacci line swirl, setting position of 7 plasma channels of pi in the correlations of balance and set location setting, right? Almond's correlation line is a 2-line track communication setting in a 28 lines of a minute and position locations in position line centers of 12-line connection, right? It's all about understanding how to use the mechanism of travel communication setting and redirect signals. So you come into redirection, reline setting, high interference, redirect line setting, direct line conditions of portal communication line conditions of relay high communication is collaboration to position, all levels of box, and position triangulations and lines of 3 weathers, because there are 3 line setting on interference, north, east, and west, and line setting, and south sets on high center of box location as center communications of directions. Now, directing line signature is really understand how to colorate the lines of box, because it's masculinity and stunning. Triangulation is femininity line rotations. So you come into circle lines of high interference into masculinity and circle line connections of femininity line rotation of center. Directing line centers, masculine connections of 8 and pi, and redirect centers, center positions of pi at 8-line setting, and pi of its relay, line conditions of 8, and redirect signals in directions of equal line calculation setting, work about north, west, south, and east in a circle line rotation, the new ground operation center, in position of center of 8 communications. All right, so the triangulation line sets high interference of triangulation interface. Okay, so in that line interference, we set up electrical panel. Now that panel lines its cerebral cortex line setting. This opens up dimensional doors and looks at travel communications, high interference travel positions of box location centers. Box line center line interference sets lines of position. Now this is parameters over pi. Redirect signals is set location high center that opens all communication to your position locations of travels and mechanisms high center interference. Done by equation. All right. Okay, so mechanism of high center lines of travel. Really understand how to modify your signals. Getting the line center lines of one signature line stream. Direct line centers, crossing line position, location, operation. So it's a 45 line setting in position. So that's 4 lines of 5, equal line consists of 45, position of traction. Okay. Now it's 45 measure lines of 6, rotates the center line interference of its moon and high center location of travel communications. Directing lines in position of travel communication. Okay. Now, in that line center line interference, we take the 4 lines as line high interference into a half pipe of 6. So that comes into all calculation hydro line setting instead of location of travels. Center correlation is dimensional sail, solar sail, and positional location setting and direct signal of operation. Okay. Now, directing line settings of panels is all about understanding how to redirect signals in center communication of center lines of 0. Operation surface comes in a triangulation line. This spots its channel line condition center of a new ground operation. Setting lines of panels sets position locations into your crystal grids and line position of travels. Redirecting signals, travel position location, operation of magnetic line setting of vortice line interference of future calculation setting and videograph line stream and set location of travel communications. All right, done by equation. All right, it's all set up. So you have to really understand how this all works now. How to work through the holographic line setting, how to understand and use your visionary lines in your portals and your stargates. Okay, so 11 signature patterns, 7 plasma channels of operation through pi. Okay, this is about directing and redirecting your thought lines out of thinking and coming into knowing and doing. This processes its communication setting and opens all levels of you through channel operation. How to use your placebos is correlated in line interference, how to set your positions to tones of operation. Okay, setting that communication line interference to platform communications. Okay, very powerful set locations of travels. This is all future line settings of hologram set location. All right. Now, you have to really understand how to set up structural lines. Okay, gone but still there. So, how's everybody doing so far? Is everybody understanding the communication line setting and how to set up the holographic line position of streams and set location of travel? It's important to understand these, right? Okay, so we come into the energy line stream, setting rotation spins, okay, and correlation directions, and high setting, okay? Now it gets complicated because now we're going through 6 lines of channel, 6 lines of operation, 6 line division, and 6 lines of high calculation. Now in that set line calculation lines, this is a seed pod line setting. Now it sets line condition of orbits. Planet line rotation center correlates its line interference of echo chambers and set location of travels. Now directing signal lines, we set up 6 line centers, indirect signals as center communications. Down across the string and center positions to a new operation surface and calculates the mind of space and set location. Now, getting in that position there, you have to really understand how to use your energy graph line streamlines. Cross the signals into 8 line position, 8 line rotations, 8 line centers, and 8 lines location system of travel communications. Now, in that set high interference, we change the sun lines and correlation and projections. This projects location of visionary line interference. Correlation panels, travel line center line interference, crosses line rotation center interference line calculation setting, in calculation indirect line center interference, and position location in the line center is a 2-spot location of channels. So it gets you out of snowy graph interference and set location of yin and yang. Process lines, streamlines, and set locations of travel. Done by equation. All right. So that's in travel communication setting, direct signals. Now, what you have to understand is how to set up the operation line stream. Okay. The position location operates as line center in operation surface. So it's all about understanding the rotation spin, how fast it rotates, right? Center correlation center, line interference is travel calculations, balance line center, center communication of 0001 and 0001 location. Okay, so center lines of 0, and 3 line setting. So we have to learn how to basically set up a graph line, stream line, and position of magnetic highway information lines to your sky grid, Skynet line center location of travel positions. This operates at 3 line signature lines of 0 operation, 4 and 5, and set location of travels. So that's because it becomes a dimensional line of a solar graph, solar stream, solar line inner rotation position near 12 signature patterns of communication. Now this directs signals to set lines of calculation setting, 0 line in setting, 0 line position, 0 line correlation, and 0 line of travel position high setting. Direct signals and 2 lines of 6 lines of high interference of travel communication and 0 lines of operation. Okay. So it's really understand how to use the Gaussian line. Now the Gaussian line is the center of communication to your theta line. So we set up box line channels. Okay, box lines of high interference. We cross the wind cycles in 3 set location of travel settings, right? So you have travels line sending out a positional equation. All right, so that's one line signature. So we set up the theta line rotation surface in a flux capacitor location setting, directing signal across a string. And we also set up the box line channel. Okay, crossing line stream in set location high setting and direct signals to set locations. All right, so what this does is platitudes of 4 lines of high send locations 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and bounce correlation setting to an energy dome line rotation surface and set location of travel at set locations. All right, done by equation. It's all set up. Okay. So coming into electrical line settings, really understand how to set up a data line stream. This comes into correlations of lines of box. Box, the position of travel line setting. What are we in? In position all levels? 8 in position of 3. Thumbs up, right? And that's where we're coming into. So we're coming in 8 central lines. So I'm communicating with my computer. My computer is communicating with my line setting locations of 8 line settings into 3 set locations. Okay. So if you take that track line, 8 equals lines of 1, 1 equals line calculations of 3, and 3 lines of calculations of 3, and equal lines of 3, equal line connections 69 in set location of travel. Okay? So you really have to understand how to coordinate line centers of 8 and positions of 1 in travel communication. That's how it becomes 81 line centers and signature line stream. So you set up the line at perimeters and parameters line stream locations. Center calculations center lines its top sequence and set location of patterns. This sets line calculation setting. Now this directs centers lines of 3 and position location of 6 and position of patterns. The center calculation line interference sets lines of wave graph string lines in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line rotation. Directing signals cross line stream, you're going through space, you got to go through time. Crossing the lines and position locations going back, but you're going forward in set location of travels. That travel line signature line interference, we take the 333, allocate line stream in 69 positions and set lines and high interference, travel calculation line direct signals into a star line stream, star position track line, and Merkabah set location setting into your Stargate line rotation surface, calculates modification line interference and future adaptation surface and set location of travels and set location line connection. Okay, done by equation. Very complicated stuff. Okay. So how's everybody doing so far? Having fun? All right. It's great, eh? Well, we're coming into line signature line stream locations. Okay. So remember the correlation that comes into Alan Watts, where he was talking about everything is calculated position, location, how you see yourself and how you perceive location system of longitude and latitude, even though it's not there. It's only there in its position of its invisibility. The imagination line is the calculation system. The only way you're going to be able to see it is through imagination. Okay? If you're not seeing through imagination, you're not seeing the longitude and latitude, because it's about understanding that you're in position locations to all line center line interference, in calculation stream interference, line calculation setting, to all calculation modification to invisible shield. That's all it is. So it's invisible to the eye line setting, but you have to understand how to use it to location to a system. It tracks all of those of information to its setting, right? If I set up an electrical graph line stream of 1 line rotation interference, you can see it, right? You can see it. But in set location setting, it's still there in set locations. It's still there, but you can't see it because it's at a higher frequency, right? So it's really understanding how to go beyond the recognition lines of space and time, right? So understanding that line in a line rotation interference, you understand your dimensional door lines, okay, graph line stream locations, all right? Platitude lines of box line rotation of channels. Channel line in positions, position of 4-dimensional door lines of stream locations, right? Graph line calculation of travel settings, okay? Cost of records, right? Everything has a correlation system of a file, okay? Files, right? So redirecting line centers is signature patterns, rotation surface location of 1, 2, 3, 3 lines of signature line settings. Directing lines of 0 line across the string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sets lines of 4 in position locations. Cross lines of 1 line setting. 2 positions of 3. 4 lines signature to the lines of 3. 4 3-line setting. High interference of 7 channels of operation plasma. Plasma correlates line interference. We backtrack communication 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line channels operation. Directing signals, calculation line, position location of a capsule. Capital lines and line interference of capillars, line interference of proxy center, and line communication of channel streamlines. Directing signals, crossing streamlines in position, crossing streamlines in position, crossing streamlines in position location operation. Directing lines of panels, 0 line position location of moon, sets correlation system, and direct signals is location of travels at center position. Now the center position location of high lines is string. Center line calculation opens up all line position. Directing lines of graph lines into energetic line rotations in position, what's above, what's below, and set location of travel. Directing signal, what's above, what's below, and travel. Communications, right? Center calculation lines, split the location lines in positions of pi. Redirect signals, phase direction of time sequence, flux capacitor line channels, high and position location of pi into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 locations of travels. Done by equation. So now you're set up the 7 plasma channels of pi and all direct signals to 0 line position operation to your placebo cortex of string locations. Done by equation. It's all set up. So thought line centers is all calculated and modified, right? How to really understand travel. See, the thing is, it's still there. It's still there. Okay? So for you to understand that it's still there is to know it's always been there. So this is where it comes into everything in its allocation system, where it's timeless, shapeless, and formless. But the first understanding is to understand what this is in track locations. Until you understand it, it's disappeared, but it's still there in set location. So we all have to understand, is to be understood, what a plasma line center of a stream is. Its correlated position locations, how you put your letters, numbers, and shapes through correlation panel of operation surface and set locations to your thought direction of time through sequence. Now we come into sequence line sending line interference. 2 sequence patterns in line positions of 4 lines in a box location. Okay, so this directs lines in your flux capacitor, crosses string locations in high setting. 2 point line rotations into 1 equals 1 line center rotations, right? So we bring the 1 and 1 together in set location of travel. Directs lines of stargates, box line, box line, box line. It opens up its panels, its realms, its correlation setting, and travel communication to its portals in its line communication setting and indirect system. Now in that center line interference, we come into box, we come into triangle, we come into position locations, we come into rectangle, we come into star line settings and high center interference to travel communication directions. So the box line centers lines of triangulation, in position location of star line setting, set locations into lulls rectangle, and line calculation setting, okay, into circle line communications, all right? 4 waving line center line interference of code weaving. The central communication line center opens up its dimensional of its stargate and 11 position location of plasma channels and string location of center of operation string and set location setting. Walking surface and center communication into 0 lines of correlation simultaneously all in center position. Done by equation, all right? All right. It's fun, isn't it? How's everybody doing so far? All right. But it's amazing how you set things up. Okay. So to know exactly you is understand you in all line setting. It's really understand how to use your positions to your placebo lines, your T reception lines, 3 line center signature patterns. Now this set locations into 2 lacing lines of communication of TV lines. So systematic lines of change into 0 lines in correlation setting, directing signals of 9 equal lines of 0 and lines at high set locations. So 9 equals 0 equals 0. 0 lines of operation, 0 lines of correlation to center, and 0 lines in position. This comes past, present, and future as set location of setting. Directing lines, center graph lines, stream lines, center communication line directions, surface location of travel set location of center. Directing line signature patterns and the correlation line interference up in high center and position travels, calculation line directions to your center line communication, your pyramid is set location. See the pyramid? Now the rotation center walks its surface, in position locations to its east line setting, waving central line calculations to its calculation streamline in directions. Okay, directing signature patterns. Okay, it's a waving central line set location of center. It opens all signals and pattern communication lines setting in position to travel line center interference and simultaneously communication or timelines of signal location of high center. That my equation. Now, getting that line signature line stream, we cross the streamlines in position of 8 lines because that's where you guys are in set location of travels. Okay, and signature lines of set location. See the intelligence? So getting in signature line setting is all about understanding the 9 waves. We got 9 line centers, 9 activation, 9 stream location, 9 panels. Operation line interference is equal line calculation of 0 of operation of 0 line calculation setting. Directing signal lines of 3, 3, 3 in set location of center, a new communication system into a vortex line setting, travel out of sequence in line positions to its future adaptation of surface and set locations. That my equation. All right. Okay. So you're in 8 line settings and 1 line rotation. Infinity line centers of 8, equal line connections of 1, 1. Okay. Center calculations of 1, 1. See? Center calculations of 1, 1, 1. Center calculations of 1, equal line connections of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Position of traction, right? So directing signals of 1, line centers of 0. 0 operates its signal location to its position, center calculation to its setting. So you really have to understand how you take the 1s and 0s and 1 and track communication line setting in position location to create anomaly line switch in line centers of solar sails and set location of travels and operation surface and set location of time. All right. Directing line signature line settings. Sun comes in, rotation surface, and travels its line signature line communications into 1, 1 of 11 signals and set location. Okay. Very powerful set locations. See the Fibonacci stairs? See the rotation spin cycle? See the ground center operation line stream? You see the intelligent location setting? It's that location. Got my equation. So, how's everybody doing so far? I keep saying that because there's a lot of signature line settings we have to set up location of panels and operate to certain location of the system. All right. Okay, so that's going to be going through flying metrics of time travel. Done, but still there. All right. So we come in a donut line stream, center correlation system and position of panels. Okay. So it gets complicated because now we're going into higher calculation lines of spin cycles to its set locations. All right. Center lines of 6. If you look really close, you can see the 6 and 9 together. Right. So it crosses line, error line directions, and 2 line signatures. Okay. Now in that position locations, center calculation 1 strip, okay, in triangulation line setting directions, okay, and to downshift line cross stream location in your system, okay. Center calculation streamline sets position of travel communications, directing signals and travel communications, all right. What's above is below, okay. Now, the correlation line center sets line communication of travel lines into your platforms, okay. This is where we take the 1 position locations into 144 and set line condition setting and direct signal. Directing line centers, signature lines, and stream lines in position locations to another galaxy shift line and travel communication in high setting. Okay, very powerful set locations. All right. So the signature lines come in line signature. Now we set up the alpha, setting correlation line directions. There's the alpha line settings. Yeah. And then we come into delta wave, and then we come into theta. Now theta sets communication setting and direct signal set locations. All right. That's my equation. All right, it's all set up. All right, so that's going to be out. Sync and set lines of travel. Yeah, great. So this is where we have to set up perimeter line streams. Now, perimeter line streamline interference is to understand the mechanism line calculation setting where it coordinates this line stream interference of light speed. Okay, mechanism lines of Mach. So the Mach line setting sets lines of calculation system of clock lines of communication into collaboration. Center lines equal line calculation hanger and set lines of high center interference of travel communication directions. All right. So that's 3 lines of signature, 3 lines of panels, and 3 lines of calculations in your time sequence of 3 line rotation interference, heart direction of time sequence, heart line, center line condition high system, travel line, center line interference of dimensional sail, and set location of travel. Okay. Now, this directs the high setting. Now, when you're directing high setting, you really understand how to coordinate line interference and trial communication in the opposite location setting in 12 line center interference and trial communications. Okay? That's my equation. So, it's amazing how we set up line center location just through one line setting of one position. So 11 line center line interference, 11 line rotations, northwest, south, and east is all set up. Okay, channel position is dynamic core, sending correlation setting, right? Directing signals in one box locations into triangulation line set, box location, triangulation line set, box location system. So why do you think we use letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, guys? Okay, is to understand how to travel through the travel line center triangulation. So that's 3 line sets, equal line conditions of 11. 3 equals 11. Same in the line interference, a box instead of location line settings and 3 line centers, 3 equals line conditions and positions of 11, right? The correlations of 11 equals lines of 3 in center communications, and equal line conditions of 11 equal lines of 0 in calculations of 1. So we take the track lines and line interference, we cross the panel of communications into 1, 2, 3 instead of location of travel, into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal line calculations of one set and one line center of 0 gravity and ozone line rotation surface. Done by equation. It's all set up locations of high setting. Electrical grid lines, high line interference, pi direction of time sequence, set lines of calculation setting, direct signals, correlations, lines of clock lines, travel lines, activation lines, stream lines, and set location of sighting. Done by equation. Come fly with me. Fly me to the moon. All right, so it's all set up position of traction. Okay, so it's important you understand how to basically get into coordination, calculation modification to your letters, numbers, and shapes, and create it through anomaly of travel. So if you take a triangulation line set and travel position, right, travels to another triangulation, travels to another triangulation, right? And it's point system line conditions, right? Directing signal through pi. That's pi, right? Overlooking cross line, you can see what you did in center communication. Okay, summing in mass, equal lines of equation, lines of high calculations into pi, a position of traction. Okay, so we all have to understand how to use pi through indication, right? It's very powerful when you come into your own position location of pi, right? Because now your essential lines are your 7 plasma, 7 equals plasma, plasma equals channel, channel equals lines of 11, 11, equal line conditions of 11, 11, space lines of time position. Okay, that's where everybody is. So in that line center line interference, the team lines in 94, 4 line centers, 9 positions into 4 true track line rotation, 2 solar stream lines, and set correlation high interference, box line triangulation setting, box in position triangulation, box in position triangulation, 3 set line condition high setting. 7 over to 3, and 3 lines of 5, 5 lines of 7, and 7 location and 12, 12 line centers, and a 24 sequence and center communication of travels, and center communication line setting, and center communication operation center, and position location magnetic line position, operation surface, location directions, into atom line signature line streams, and molecular light structure is set location of travel. Done by equation. Woo! And we're still at 8 signature line settings at 3 lines of Fibonacci line swirl and set locations and travels. All right, so that's going to be out of equation. Done. It's still there. Okay, so really understand that your visionary lines are open through more line setting through portals of 11 location setting near 7 plasma channels. Now, this is a Stargate line provision. Now, you have to really understand how to use it through your quadrants, okay, especially with the team line center. Getting in that track communication, you have to really understand how to balance these things out, right? You got to balance your position locations to your Merkabahs. It's a location of travels, center correlation line direct signals. Getting that correlation of travel position location into the center positions to your magnetic highway formational lines of your affinity 8 line rotation center. Okay, so directing signals is really understand the panel communication line centers of 3 and set location of 3, set location of travel. Center lines of 3, line interference, you bring that all calculation setting, 3 lines into lines of 6, and in positions 3 equals 3, 3 equals 3, the position location is on 9, center lines of 6 and 9 rotation surface into yin and yang process of correlation. Okay, so really understand how to really center your positions, how to use your position location line setting, So in that track communication system, use the formation channel now. Get in that line center interference, how to use position locations to its intelligence, equal line conditions to its letter, number, shape, or symbol. Okay? So it's intelligence first before it becomes a word, or anything through sentence, or anything through frame, or everything through story, or anything through life force. Your life force is a continuous force that keeps flowing in its direction time sequence and the center communications to all timelines all at once of yin and yang. Okay? Done by equation. We're done. We are done. So, know exactly what's set up through your portals now. All right? Really understand how to balance these things out through the set location of travels. Okay? So, no class tomorrow, right? We proceed on lines of Monday. Okay? I know, Gypsy. Isn't it amazing what we go into correlations of settings and position of structure? You come into more lines of engineering your line setting. Okay, it's our correlation system when it comes into your avatar sequence. Getting your position, your DOD, high calculations to your architect locations of your own engineer, of your own design. Okay, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Adios.